What's up, everyone? This is Max from Amped Magazine. We're interviewing Donnie Gebert, a former U.S. veteran and recent author of A Direct Republic, The Null Hypothesis of Politics, How to Automate a Legislator. That's what we're going to be talking about in these interviews. Visit ampmagazine.net/Donnie Gebert interview for more.
Before we get there, I want to go down a kind of a rabbit hole. So hopefully we can get back to it. But
no, I was out of a rabbit hole.
I don't know with this one. So okay. I heard Congressman Thomas Massey, who is one of my heroes, talk about, and he's a congressman, which is unbelievable. But he was on a podcast the other day, and he said that for the Vegas shooting, that Congress was never briefed on that, but for every other mass shooting, they were briefed on. And the guy that was hosting the podcast was like, "Why do you think that is?" And he's like, "I have no idea," and just kind of, the awkward silence kind of thing. What do you think about that?
You know what? You got to go along the same lines. Really, what you and I and every voter, if I look at this, if we can't see the far side of the bell curve, we've forgotten our roots. Okay? So it doesn't matter how much studying we've done. If we don't have the last guy on board on the truck, then we're fucked. So we don't have all the information about Vegas. That's the way that is. But why do these anomalies keep popping up? We deserve systems where these astronomical anomalies don't happen because there's adults on watch. And it turns out that either they're incompetent or they're sinister. And at a certain point, we don't have to deal with these people. We could isolate them by cutting them off financially. And that's kind of where Libra's coming anyway. So it's not so much a matter of we're ever going to find out what happened there, truth or not. My guess is it was an assassination attempt. And then whatever else went on beyond that, cover it with something else. There are people who will cover one operation by live firing people in another. All warfare is based on deception. I understand it. I don't understand why. All kinds of ways to deceive people, and there's all kinds of ways to get shit done. Minimum viable product looks different to different people. So to some dickhead who thinks he knows what he's doing, the Vegas whole operation, whatever the intent of all that was some guy's minimum viable product. Imagine the professionalism on that peckerhead. Wow. He doesn't know what he's doing. He thinks as long as I have access to rapid fire weapons that I could make this happen. Okay, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should take a minute and say, what's the sexiest way I could do this? And that's how the old SWAT guys were. They always smelled like pot. They were always covered in beards. And they'd rip you out of your car because you were dumb and you weren't paying attention. They wouldn't get an RV and 14 of their armor-clad friends and shoot your dog on the way in to your house and then, flashbang your kids and stuff. And, of course, it was the wrong address and you got away. So the guy who actually was supposed to get arrested runs away because they hit the wrong house. Like, how many times has this happened? How many guys on a 14-man squad that go into the wrong address are professionals? The answer is 0. 0 of 14 armor-clad, armed men breaking into a house are qualified to do so because they're all at the wrong address, and none of them checked out the basics. None of them checked anything. So you got to understand what's going on first. And Vegas, it's just not, man. It's just not. We don't really know. We don't know this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. This is all, we are told he tried to commit suicide 2 weeks ago. Did he? I don't know. That's just a report. Right. And then, but here's the thing. It doesn't matter. He should have been on homicide watch. He's a high value target who has critical information as to deep government corruption. This guy should have been, if you think about Silence of the Lambs and how they had Hannibal Lecter towards the end there, in the cage in the center of the gymnasium.
Yeah, right. So how it should have been.
Exactly. His whole area should have looked very similar to that. He should have been well lit, nails buffed, not wearing anything, more rigid than fleece, but well fed, comfortable. No girls, Sorry, Jeff, we don't have that kind of service here, but we do have the rest of the stuff. And he should have been maintained and had people guarding his door. People who were willing to kill other people to keep Jeff alive. And guess what? Jeff's dead. So if those people were in the building, you got stuck with the bill. You're paying those cops, even though all of them are incompetent. So there you go. No matter what happens, it's either incompetent or it's sinister. So at a certain point, we're paying for systems. We shouldn't pay for systems. And then, never mind the paying for them. These piss boys think they're going to fucking operate in America? No, they're not. I didn't wander the planet ripping this kind of problem out to watch it prop up here. Not a goddamn chance. And here, listen, you don't even need a civil war here. You just got to run your mouth. Once you expose fraud, it goes away. And
right.
That's how. That's a how. It's not a why. You don't sit around having a political debate with people about why this should change. Of course, it's a fucking horror and it should change. Move along. Do you know how? No. Okay. Can't bring anyone back from the dead. Let's get on top of the things that we can. The things that we can do are understand the systems, why they're there. Why do we have cops at all? To protect. If they are inept and incompetent, we are best off without them. Period.
So how do you consider like what the law, I know you kind of get into this already, but like people conflate laws with morality. They're like, that's what we have the legal system for. And they put it on a pedestal that, as long as we have the law and people that can write laws, we're going to be okay. And if we just get the right people in the government, we're going to be able to write the laws and we're just going to be able to make a utopia. But I know you go into this book a lot, but just like going into that and like how writing your own laws would be a much preferable reality.
Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of people who speak of the law in the same tonality that they speak about the Bible. It's a matter of belief. They're absolutely certain and they know absolutely nothing about the system that makes it. Listen, Jesus doesn't bring the pork chops. There's no harm in being a Christian. Sunday morning isn't Monday morning, okay? Monday through Friday, shit's got to happen. It happens in three-dimensional space. It doesn't happen in your heart, and it doesn't happen in your mind. There's a budget. Shit's got to get done. You have to know how. You can't necessarily pray for something on Sunday and then expect it to show up on Monday on its own. You have to then say, I now have the intestinal fortitude to go put a couple of these stones in place myself in my own life, and then I can understand. When people don't understand the system, they want to believe. And when they believe, they want you to believe, because then the world is the same and they know what to expect from you. Well, never mind religious beliefs. The law is done in a religious setting. It is spoken of course. Of course it's the law. Of course the law says that. The manner in which lawyers will prosecute a speeding ticket as if it's anything other than a bill of attainder that they change the nomenclature on is kind of fucking retarded. I understand that you can insist that one piece of paper is a bill of attainder and that one piece of paper is a speeding ticket. But if you call it one thing, it's unlawful according to the Constitution. And if you do the other thing, well, guess what? It's legal now. You know why? Because lawyers and everyone doesn't understand the system. They don't understand where the fraud is coming from. So there was aspects of religion that were fraudulent throughout the years, but they were also aspects of good religion. You listen to a lot of stuff that Jordan Peterson talks about. If you really look at it, sexual hygiene and sanitation tend to also be these religious tenets. Well, guess what? Cleanliness, what used to be right next to godliness 1,000 years ago, you'd be dead. So there's some things that you and I do as humans that became religious tenets, not as a control measure for your life, but as a best practice for humanity. then some of them got religious, moralistic tenets on it, and a bunch of people lost their foreskin and clitorises. You know what I mean? So at a certain point, you got to see, well, who's bringing what to the table? Who's controlling people by doing certain things to them? And who's just bringing decent community standards to the table, right? There's plenty of Christians that their whole town was just all Christian-y, like real fundy that none of us would really kind of like to be there. But it was the community standard. Everyone was okay with the Christianity. So it made a nice, strong community. And that's got nothing to do with you and me, and it worked for them. Would you and I do it like that? No. But it worked for them, and it was a long time ago. And it kept them safe, and the hygiene standards went up, and the prosperity went up. So it's hard to not see how any religious system that brings also good social standards, just that will help, fundamentally synergistic social standards, yeah, then all of a sudden you get people who believe in religion. But these days you have people, the virtue signaling is way out of hand. Everybody wants to feel good, and everybody's doing it by virtue signaling in almost all of the ways, because they don't know how to do almost anything else. So that's where we're at. Again, we come back to when you don't know how, you're required to believe. If you're required to believe, you're susceptible to fraud. So it's easier to teach anti-fraud right from the get-go with other people don't write laws for you, smartass. You think you're so good at it, smartass? Now you got to write laws. I used to be the smartass. So I had to figure out the system because I was tired of listening to these lawyers talk. And turns out they are the smartasses. They're really ripping people off through contract, and they're just making laws. They're allowed to make laws. You're not allowed to say no. That's not a social contract. That's not a legal system. That's imposed economic regulatory nonsense is what it is from central planning. Like it's leftover socialism from FDR, and it's coming out whether the cops like it or not.